Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Asian Business Association's 7th Annual Women's Business Pioneers Symposium. On behalf of the organizing committee, our executive director, Dennis Huang, and my co-chair, Chui Jang, it's wonderful to see so many of you in our virtual attendance. It's been about 7 years since ABA launched this event, and each year it's been getting bigger and better, and truly has become one of ABA's signature events. That's a testament to the growing prominence of Asian American women business leaders and all of your participation in our growth and influence. This year, we celebrate our first virtual Women's Pioneer Symposium. And with the support of all of you and our important sponsors, we hope to set a benchmark for how a virtual gathering is held. Unlike other virtual events, we hope there will not be any screaming speeches in our event. However, this event is about celebrating your achievements and to inspire the next generation of Asian business leaders. As you all know, we are in the midst of extraordinary times. Now more than ever, as racial divide is deepening, Asian Americans continue to be attacked and scapegoated for the awful pandemic we are facing. It is so very important that we Asian business community come together to support each other now more than ever. We hope today's event can play some part in the process of inspiring our communities and building support for each other. And with that, I gave you Chui Jang, my co-chair.
Hi guys, my name is Chui Jang, co-chair of this year's ABA Board of Directors with Jay. I want to say thank you again for everyone tuning in today. This is actually my favorite event of the year, but unfortunately we cannot do this face-to-face. But the committee and the staff put so much work and effort into putting this event virtually, and I really want to thank everyone that's tuning in today. The committee did an amazing job. I want to recognize them, Vanessa Du, Karen Park, and Queen Away. And of course, our staff, Dennis, Bianca, and B. You guys did an amazing job. Social media, please take some screenshots of the panelists, maybe even a selfie of you watching the event virtually and show off how good you look. Make sure you tag aba.losangeles and use hashtag ABAWomen. ABA is, of course, a membership-driven organization. Join us today as a premium member, $100 a year. We have been doing virtual webinars all this year. And next year, when things kind of get back to normal, we'll be having big events such as this one live, also the gala. We hold networking events and educational webinars all throughout the year. So please join us. Some of you guys got the swag bag boxes full of goodies. I want to recognize the swag bag donors. We have Bespoke Beauty Brands, Health-Ade Kombucha, ID Logic, IQ Laser Vision, KGP Eco, Kidstream and Ellie Face Masks, Collectin, Lotte Beverage America, Way Hair Care, and Rael. Jay?
All right, and I'd like to, at this time, recognize our board of directors who have been faithful servants of ABA. We have Mei Chu, Angela Chang, myself, Vanessa Du, James Shea, Chui Jang, Steve Lee, Kelly Wen, Karen Park, Ben Pasquale, Steve Fung, Jim Song, Queen Away, Teresa Wright, and Elizabeth Yang.
I want to recognize our advisory council. Thank you for serving on our advisory council, and I want to recognize our lead, Ed Simon, Donna Ruff, and Aura McCracken. And our sponsorship recognition, Topaz Level sponsor, American KGP, Bon La Vie, CIT Commercial Services, Copy-Free Document Imaging and Solutions, ID Logic, Golden State Water Company, KCal Insurance Agency, Kidstream and LA Face Mask, KGP Eco, Law Office of Elizabeth Yang, Lee, Anif Chung, White, Ruger, and Richard LLP, Metropolitan Water District, Southern California Gas Co., 10 Advertising, and Tung Yu, Wong, and Lee LLP.
And our emerald level sponsor is US Bank, who's been a consistent supporter.
Yeah, thank you, US Bank. Ruby level sponsor is T-Mobile.
And the highest level of sponsorship, our diamond level, is with Mr. Robert King here, who will introduce, Southern California Edison. And let's see, we are.
I introduce Southern California Edison.
Yes, that's, you want to introduce? Okay, so I'll introduce Southern California Edison. All right. And without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Robert King, who is the Senior Cybersecurity and Compliance Counsel for Southern California Edison. Thank you, Robert, and Southern California Edison for being a title sponsor here today, diamond level sponsor, similar to title level sponsor. And we look forward to our continued partnership into the future.
Jay and Chewy, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. As Jay mentioned, my day job is to act as Southern California Edison's cyber lawyer. But like many of you, I'm also a person of color and proud of that fact. And that's why it's my personal pleasure to open up today's festivities. I'm super excited to be here with you, even virtually. So first, let me give many thanks to Dennis Huang with ABA-LA and the rest of the ABA board and team. They worked so hard to bring today's virtual engagement to you. And we know this because COVID-19 really put us all on a roll. But their ability to produce today's event shows our APA community's ability to roll with the punches. And it's in celebration of our community's ability to adapt that Southern California Edison is proud, very proud, once again, to serve as the sponsor for this year's Women Business Pioneers Symposium. Now, for those of you who may not know, SoCal Edison is one of the largest electric service providers in the nation. We deliver electricity to 15 million people across Southern, Central, and Coastal California every day. Collectively, we cover over 50,000 square miles of service territory. And the lights that you turn on is only made possible because of our amazing workforce, over 13,000 employees strong. And one that we are proud is also diverse. I'm actually personally very happy that many of SoCal Edison's own colleagues of color are here with us today virtually. Michael Herrera and Troy Wynn and others, I'm looking at you. Now, as a person of color who grew up in the 70s and 80s, I know just how important it is to hear stories about our community's pioneers. And that's why I'm so excited to hear from today's three amazing boss ladies. Now, following these leaders on their life's journey to success can help inspire all of us to succeed in these tough times, because where they went, we can go too. Now, at Southern California Edison, we're proud to continue to partner with ABA-LA as we strive to meet our goals for a clean energy future, one that partners with our local women and with our Asian-owned businesses. Your presence is essential to make that future a reality. And it's with this spirit of collaboration and the innovative offerings that you bring to us, our women and APA businesses, that we will continue to contribute to the economic growth of our communities. Now, SCE and I, we take our commitment to the APA community seriously. For example, last year, SCE spent over $900 million with women-owned businesses and another $251 million specifically with Asian-owned businesses. Altogether, we spent over $2.2 billion with small and diverse owned companies, and we are very, very proud of that fact. Furthermore, SCE is committed to helping level the playing field for Asian and women entrepreneurs through business-oriented legislative and regulatory policy on both the federal and state levels. Now, in closing, I'd like to share with you the following. Southern California Edison and myself as well, we know that the key to delivering reliable, affordable, and clean power is the existence of a strong, collaborative, and innovative supply chain. And in order to succeed, that supply chain must include women and APA entrepreneurs like you. Now, as we power through these challenging days, SoCal Edison will continue to support and advocate for all of you as we work together towards a cleaner, stronger, more prosperous, and resilient state for all Californians. So I want to say thank you And I hope you all enjoy the rest of today's virtual symposium and take those selfies that our board members have asked about. And make sure you get my good side. Cheers.
Thank you, Robert.
All right, now I'm going to introduce our moderator, Vanessa Du. She's the Chief Sales Officer and co-founder of Health-Ade Kombucha. She also serves on the board of directors of Asian Business Association. Vanessa brings an invaluable knowledge of sales and marketing that has successfully enabled Health-Ade to grow from a farmer's market commodity to a nationwide brand. Company consistent growth speaks to Vanessa's expertise in educating customers and cultivating the Health-Ade brand. Please allow us to introduce the person who will lead our program as moderator, Ms. Vanessa Du.
Thank you, Jay and Chewy. Hello to everyone joining us in this new digital format for the Women's Symposium. My name is Vanessa Du, as Chewy mentioned, and I'm the co-founder and CSO of Health-Ade. At Health-Ade, our mission has been to brew the best tasting, bubbly beverages so you can follow your gut and show the world what you're made of. I was on this exact panel about 2 years ago, and it was really my first exposure to the ABA. Since then, Health-Ade has remained the fastest growing kombucha brand in the market with over $115 million in retail sales. We launched 2 new product lines, Health-Ade Booch Pop, which is a functional soda alternative, and Health-Ade Plus, which is kombucha plus functional adaptogens to make you feel your best. And I have to say that we were able to grow and launch these products amongst a very supportive ABA community that's only wanting the best for each other. And I couldn't be prouder to support the work of the ABA. Today, I'm joined by 3 amazing women pioneering in their respective fields, and we'll hear a little bit about their journey as an entrepreneur. First, I'll introduce Amy Liu, who's the founder of Tower 28 Beauty. For over 15 years, she's worked as a beauty executive at some of the world's top brands like Smashbox and Kate Somerville. As a longtime sufferer of eczema, she created Tower 28 from a need to make beauty products that were fun and cool, wallet-friendly, but at the heart of it, gentle and safe. Amy, can you tell us a little bit more about Tower 28 and its mission?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got it all right, Vanessa. I mean, this is one of those things that it really came out of a need of my own. So I really felt like products on the market were either non-toxic, but that meant that I was relegated to, since I have eczema, I was relegated to products that were potentially irritating, because a lot of products that are non-toxic have essential oils, plant botanicals that can be irritating as well. And then if you look at the products that are made for sensitive skin, oftentimes those look clinical or medicinal in their approach. And I sort of felt like the crosshair of those 2 worlds, so products that were both non-toxic and non-irritating, didn't really exist. And then the other thing was that feeling like clean beauty could often be expensive and also felt very exclusive. So it didn't really, I didn't see a lot of the marketing to people of color, Asians included. It felt really like a high price point item that was targeted at, really just a wealthier white woman. And I felt like that it could open up and be more accessible too.
Well, I love that. And I love the products, by the way.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yeah, no, we launched like a year and 4 months ago, and it's gone well, but it's also been just such a fast and fun ride so
Awesome.
far.
Welcome.
Yeah.
We also have Jing Gao, who's the founder and CEO of Fly by Jing. She's a chef, entrepreneur, globally renowned expert on Chinese cuisine, and even started an award-winning Chinese fast casual restaurant in Shanghai. She's been featured on everything from the New York Times to the BBC to CNN and Fortune. Prior to life as an entrepreneur, she worked in brand management at P&G and led product marketing and strategic development for BlackBerry and Frog Design. Jing, tell us a little bit more about Fly by Jing and your mission to bring uncensored Chinese flavors to all.
Hi everyone, so good to be here, and thank you for that intro. So you touched on all the points that I was about to say, but I was born in Chengdu and grew up kind of moving all over the world, and so for me, I felt quite disconnected from my heritage. And so in my 20s, when I moved to Asia for work, that's really when I started to reconnect with my roots and my sense of identity. And a key way that I was able to do that was through food. So I started delving really deep into Chinese food culture and eventually left my day job in tech. And I opened the first sustainably sourced fast casual restaurant in Shanghai. And eventually that led to Fly by Jing, which today our mission is to really share the true, flavors and the highest quality ingredients that are available in China with the rest of the world, and making it accessible and really redefine the existing narratives that exist about Chinese food, and demonstrate that made in China can mean the highest quality ingredients that are also good for you as well.
Awesome. And I have to say, as an avid user of your products, the Szechuan chili crisp is delicious.
Thank you.
We also have Lidia Yan, who is the co-founder and CEO of Next. She oversees the company's vision and growth and has a background in logistics and e-commerce both here in the US and in China. She's led the company to 5 times revenue growth with over 150 plus employees, with over 16,000 carriers, and raised over $125 million in funding. Wow. Next is recognized as one of Forbes' next billion-dollar startups. Lidia, can you tell us a little bit about Next and how it's a logistics company, but really more of a tech company as well, and how the two coincide?
For sure. So we call ourselves the first trucker-centric marketplace, where we connect small trucking companies with enterprise shippers. And the trucking has 5 sectors. So it's not just the moving A to B. And we heavily focus on port drayage, which is hauling a container from the port to a local warehouse. We also focus on full truckload, which is hauling a trailer of goods from the local warehouse to distribution centers. The company is almost 5 years old. And you mentioned we had some sort of accomplishment in the 5 years, and we have actually 300 employees as of today. I think what really triggered me to start Next is really an event. My husband has been in logistics for a long time, and he operated a few warehouses in Southern California. He complained about the same thing every single year. And one event is really one driver from a multi-billion-dollar trucking company came to our family warehouse to pick up his load. So all he had was really a piece of scrap paper with a load number jotted down from a phone call. And it took our warehouse 3 hours trying to find that load. And we came to the conclusion that it was not there. It's a huge waste of resources and time for both the trucking company and the warehouse. So we were thinking, why can't we create something to streamline the entire process? So after talking to a lot of drivers, we came up with Next Trucking idea, which is a marketplace that connects shipper with carriers. We basically use smart matching technology to make flow of goods from the ship to shelf easier for the shippers and more profitable for the drivers.
Awesome. That's amazing. Welcome to all 3 of you. On that note, Lidia, a trucking logistics tech company, it's a very male-dominated sector. What types of obstacles have you had to overcome or encountered specifically as an Asian female throughout growing Next over the past 5 years? Can you name one example of an obstacle, and how did you really had to overcome it?
I think I have a lot of examples.
Imagine.
Yeah. I think one is, it is a male-dominant industry, and also I happen to be in a combination both. Like trucking industry is a male-dominant, and tech industry is a male-dominant industry, and the Next Trucking happens to be in a combination of both. So I think that in the early days, it was very difficult for me to raise my early stage, the first round of financing, because when I went out, my background and my look, the 5'2" Asian woman, and who happens to be an immigrant and has accent, just doesn't align with, the image of being in the logistics. And I even got questions like, do you drive a truck, right? Do you have a CDL? So it was very difficult. It took me over 4 months to raise my first institution round. And I even had investors who walk out of a coffee shop in 15 minutes after talking to me. So it was quite an experience. It took a lot of resilience, a lot of, struggle internally to really for us to raise the first institution round. And another, I think a typical experience I have, I don't even think it's abnormal now. So it's really when I go to events, to especially the industry events, the trucking industry events, where all the other folks are from the trucking industry and they mostly are very like big guys, right? So I walked in, I remember many times when I greet people with my team, and the people took me as an assistant or, secretary, until, my sales rep said, oh, this is actually our CEO. And the people look down at me and say, oh, nice to meet you. That's quite an experience. Same thing for a lot of, at the board tables, different negotiations events. And a lot of people didn't really treat me very seriously because I just look out of the picture for the industry. But I think it does take time for people to get used to what I am. But at the end of the day, it's whatever you deliver to the market, right? And we deliver a great product. We build a rock star team, and we grow exponentially in the past 5 years. So that actually tells the story.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's results make the difference, and you're delivering value. And so that speaks a lot louder than any big burly man.
Yep.
Thank you. Jing, no matter what sector we look at, and especially in recent times, we've seen amazing momentum and just this huge movement in amplifying the voices of women, minorities, people of color. Have you always embraced your Asian identity? Is it something that you looked as a strength or a weakness or a crutch? If not, or if so, what was the turning point for you, and how have you been able to leverage that in your business and starting Fly by Jing?
Yeah, so I would say that I definitely did not always embrace my Chinese identity. I think that it was a result of having been uprooted so recently when I was growing up. My family moved around a lot. My dad was a nuclear physicist. We moved with his job to country after country, learning new languages and, being completely just put into brand new cultures on an annual basis until I was almost in high school. So for me, I always felt like growing up, I was able to adapt very well to new environments. But later in life, I look back and I realize, there was that definitely does something to you, especially when you're, we lived in Europe, and trying to integrate with kids, in school is never easy. And so one of the things I think I did to adapt to that and just to make life easier for myself was, instead of calling myself Jing, I went by Jenny. And it was just this name I pulled out of thin air. I guess I watched a TV show once and I was like, oh, that sounds close enough. And I'm sure the kids will be able to pronounce that. And so I went by Jenny for most of my life until actually this year. And so, reflecting on this journey, I think, I didn't know it at the time, but moving to Asia when I was in my early 20s was kind of a way to grasp at that identity. And when I found the richness and the complexity of Chinese food, I think that really gave me a lot that I wanted to hold on to and wanted to dig deeper. And I remember, when I first started out, I was writing about food, and I started doing television projects, and there was one documentary I filmed with the BBC where I was bringing the camera crews into my grandparents' kitchen, and just that was like the first time I really felt like I was really connecting to my family as well, because by that point, language-wise, I wasn't able to communicate that well with them. And so and so that just gave me the impetus to get to know myself more through this, and then also to share it with the rest of the world. And then in 2018, I came to Expo West for the first time, which is the large, for those of you that are not in the food world, it is the largest expo for natural foods probably in the world. And it's super overwhelming. There's like 4 or 5 days of a trade show in Anaheim where thousands of vendors are setting up. And this is essentially the future of healthy eating in America. And, you know, I walked the halls, and at the time I was already making my sauces, but in China, and I was distributing it at a very small scale, kind of like homemade batches and stuff. And I was just kind of seeing what the landscape was like in the US. And after walking around for several days, I was shocked to see that essentially there were no Asian flavors around. And, you know, not only were there no representation in like Asian food brands, there was also nobody, you know, the people walking the halls who are essentially the gatekeepers to healthy eating in America. So these are the buyers, the retailers. They were remarkably non-diverse. And, you know, that was kind of the light bulb moment where, you know, that's clearly not representative of what America looks like, but also not what the way that everyone is eating, right? And entire groups of people are also being left out of healthy eating. And so that just really like fueled this kind of mission even more to bring these flavors to the US. And I think, you know, it was 2018, and you know, we launched a Kickstarter, and it ended up being the highest funded craft food project in Kickstarter. So people really seemed to resonate, you know, with our message and what we were trying to accomplish. And so I think it's been really amazing to be at the kind of beginning of this movement where there's more and more, you know, young kind of Asian American founders who are doing interesting things in whether it's fashion or food or, you know, just expressing themselves and deviating from kind of the path that, you know, our parents might have wanted for us. And, you know, like an earlier generation might have done. So, you know, so we're starting to see a lot more creativity. And so since we launched in 2018, you know, we've seen brands like Sunzo, which is Asian sparkling beverages, and, you know, a lot more of these brands coming out. And so, and with everybody here on the panel as well. So, so I think we're kind of at the beginning of this like really exciting movement where we're finding our voice, and which leads me into my final point, which is that during COVID, I actually had this epiphany that actually where that there was kind of a disconnect between what was happening internally, like who I was and who I was growing into, and what was external. And so I realized that the misalignment was actually a large part due to my name not reflecting who I really was. So I went back to, you know, Jing. And so, yeah, so as of April, I became, you know, Jing Gao again. So yeah, so that's like my journey in a nutshell.
Well, I totally resonate with that. And I don't know why it seems that Asians seem to hide their identity more so than other races to really just fit in and blend in. And you know, as I've been on the Health-Ade journey as well, I find that it's actually a strength in knowing who we are and where we come from to help build our businesses. So I totally feel you on that. And it often comes with trade-offs too. If you're hiding yourself, then who are you really? And one of the defining characteristics of a person can also be someone's family. Amy, you have 3 beautiful children and a thriving business. And I'm sure there's lots of trade-offs that you've had to make to stay sane, grow a business amidst COVID, with a family, being a teacher, I'm sure. Can you just talk a little bit about the trade-offs and how maybe having a family has made you stronger and a strong leader for your business?
Yeah, well, I think one thing I actually don't talk about a lot is over the last, I've now worked in the beauty industry for, I guess, 17 years. So it's been a minute now. And, but I worked in the beauty industry, and then for about 4 years, I took some time off. So after after I had my second kid, and basically to have my third child, I took, it was really hard to balance everything. So I was I kind of got like my first executive position at the same time, like my first VP level job I got at the same time that I had my first child. And I think, so I had my first 2 kids and I just worked so much. And then I had a hard time doing everything the way I wanted to do. And so I basically took a step back and I started working part-time. And I had my 3rd child, and then I decided to start this company, which has been really great. So to answer your question about how, I don't know if the question is exactly like how I do it, but what I would say is I think one quote that really resonates with me a lot is that somebody once told me, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. And I really think that's true. And there are different times in my life that I've pushed on my career, and there's times in my life that I've really focused more on my kids, and I focused more on, and right now my life probably is a little bit more heavy on literally just my family and my work, right? So I think all of us, I don't know how social everybody else is being, but I think being at home so much has really created this environment for me where that is really all I'm doing. And that's challenging in its own ways because I'm extroverted by nature. I love seeing my friends, and I'm not, all of those things have changed. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton of balance is a funny word. And I think when people talk about being able to do everything, I don't lie about it. I definitely don't feel like I'm able to do everything. I definitely am ordering out food a lot more than I was before. You get help. You start to, and one thing that has definitely made a difference is my husband's always been really supportive, but now I'm both in my business and in my domestic home life. I'm like, I need him to be my partner. I need him to step up. It's not just him helping me. It's like, no, we're doing this together. So that part I think has definitely made a difference for me.
I love that. I just had a baby, so doing things together and being a team totally resonates. And shout out to Kevin if he's on the line, because he's totally been my team.
Yeah, totally. And I think also like having, being Asian, I think there is an interesting dynamic that we're kind of, I mean, I don't know what anyone else's family dynamic is like, but I think you see what your own family is supposed to be like, right? And you try to emulate and create that yourself. And I think for my family, I felt like, my mom always had a job. She always wanted to work. And so I think that it didn't feel foreign to me to want to do this in that sense.
Right. Well, great for your whole family unit that you're working as a team. This question goes to all our panelists. Obviously, COVID has shaken up business as usual. We're at home a lot more. We're living a whole different life than what we thought 2020 was going to be. We're in unprecedented times. How has COVID affected your business sector, and how have you had to pivot and refocus your company, your team, re-engage the culture maybe? Lidia, I'll start with you and talk through what's been going on with Next and through COVID.
Yeah, so, well, it has been an extraordinary time for the trucking industry for the past 3 years, not just this year. So in 2018, we have ELD mandate. So it's electric lock device. So where drivers are limited to drive certain hours a day, which largely reduced the entire country's capacity. And in 2019, we had tariff war with China. And today we have COVID-19. So there was consistent inconsistency for us. There were volatile rates, seasonality disruptions. They made it very difficult for any trucking companies to plan ahead. So last year, over 1,000 trucking companies went out of business. And we actually expect more this year. So, but the good thing is 40% of merchandise is in this country imported. So with the growth of e-commerce and everybody's shopping from home, and also recovery of China's manufacturing, the volume just for LA and Long Beach ports has increased to 40% since May. So I always tell the team, I say, in the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity. And we're very fortunate that we're an essential business because we're really on the forefront of the US economy. And of course, we're committed to supporting, our carriers and shippers. So on top of really making sure that we deliver our service smoothly while everybody working from home, we also make sure that our drivers are safe and healthy while they're on the job. So we send PPE kits where we can, and we're working with shippers on like touchless delivery, so they don't need to touch in the merchandise. And at pickups at the yard or warehouses and ports. And other than, our asset team, actually 100% of our employees are working from home today. We sent PPE kits to the entire company, gloves and hand sanitizers. We sourced them from everywhere. And we also grant $350 one-time stipend to our employees to really help them to set up their home office. So it really helped them around the culture. And we also sourced, masks and the medical supplies to really donate to the LA Long Beach ports, local hospitals, to really help with the community. So yeah, I think COVID is difficult, I think for the entire country, but I think, we are definitely adapting and trying to make as much contributions as possible as a company.
That's great. Amy, how about you guys in Tower 28?
Yeah, we've seen, probably all the changes you think we've seen. So I think there's a huge trend in terms of clean beauty in general. So our products are, like I mentioned, are not toxic. We abide by the Credo Beauty no-no list, which is a pretty strict one. We're also considered clean at Sephora. So we're sold at Sephora, in-store and online, at Credo, in-store and online, and Revolve. And so I think there's been a huge trend towards clean. People want to feel more safe using their cosmetics, using anything topically, because I think they are feeling like they're already using more hand sanitizer, more, they're leaning more into, like, even people who were super green before are like pulling out their Clorox wipes and things that are considered historically to be more conventionally toxic. So I think there in general is more of a trend towards that. The other obvious thing is we're in 500 stores in US and Canada for Sephora, and those stores have been closed. So we only launched in those stores at the end of January, and this all happened in early March. So we only had, 6 weeks of sale at most in those stores. So pivoting, and really, like, I was supposed to spend a good deal of this year going into stores and educating and doing those types of things. And instead, we've really focused more on basically social media and a digital marketing world. And I think that's a totally different thing, which is great, because as a small brand, we actually never had the money to put together like a field staff, which is really what you need to make a store plan happen. So I actually think in some ways for small brands like us, it really evens the playing field, and it allows us to all kind of compete on the same, because we're all just competing for scroll time. We're all doing the same thing at that point. And yes, other people can still advertise much more heavily than we can, but I can't afford to do the big fancy, we only have 14 SKUs too. So if you go in store, other brands pay for these giant, beautiful visual merchandising fixtures that we can't. So that definitely changes things. I would say another thing that's changed hugely, that is not so much COVID specific, but Black Lives Matter, which has also happened this year in a much bigger way, is that I think there's been so much more attention specifically, and I actually don't know about other industries, so maybe other people are having the spotlight put on them as well, but certainly in beauty and fashion, there's been the pull up or shut up movement. There's been a lot more care put on, and a lot more expectation put on what is it exactly that you believe in as a company. And basically consumers really want to vote with their wallets, right? So I think we've been really vocal about supporting Black Lives Matter. And, I started a mentorship program this year called the Clean Beauty Summer School, which basically is a mentorship program that is targeted at helping Black-owned beauty businesses by pairing them up with mentors. We have classes. We are helping them network. And ultimately, we're doing a pitch day where they can win money for grant money and all these other things. And it's been a really exciting way for like a small business like mine to still participate in something like that.
Well, that's awesome.
It's been great.
Awesome. Well, sounds like you're going through COVID swimmingly as best you can.
I mean, we're lucky, right? Like because I'm already small, we didn't lay anyone off. It wasn't one of those things. So we're still pretty early in our journey. And I think in that sense, we can be flexible and we can adapt pretty quickly. And actually, this is, I don't know how well known of a fact this is for people who are not like within the beauty hemisphere, but the nomineone day of sales that Sephora ever experienced in .com history was the day that those stimulus unemployment came out. This extra $600 was the #1 day. So like beauty sales are still good. They're not so much, it's much more skincare. It's much more self-care. We have one skincare product and the rest of our products are color. So, but we've still seen quite a big growth in this time, which is surprising in some ways, but I'm grateful for it.
Nice. Jing, what about Fly by Jing going through this time in history?
Yeah, so at the beginning of COVID, I was like very scared of what was going to happen because there's, obviously growing xenophobia, and we are, there's a lot of, and we're Chinese food, and food in particular is very symbolic in the ways that people kind of talk about cultures and people. And so, there were, right away, there's always been racist comments on on socials and, Facebook and stuff for our posts, but it started to amplify a little bit. And it still happens to a degree, but I was very unsure of what was going to happen, especially as trade relations between China and the US were also souring, and we do, small batch craft our products in Sichuan. And there is, even under normal times, there's a pretty long lead time for our products, about 3 months. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but when quarantine was announced, it really surprised me that sales kind of just tripled overnight, and people were, really embracing the products and sharing it online. And that was really heartening to see. And I think that that speaks to some of the pre-work that we had been doing for, the year since we had launched prior to that point, through, just, seeding it to our friends and to influencers and the press that we had received prior to that point. And so that started to really return dividends, I feel, as people, were forced to cook at home for the first time. Prior to this point, I think there's a shocking stat that 80% of Americans didn't know how to cook or hated to cook. But overnight, we saw so many more people reaching for our condiments, which helped them to simplify the process of cooking by adding, instant umami flavors to their food. And then media really picked up, and that kind of culminated in this multi-page spread in the New York Times Sunday magazine, where Sam Sifton, the managing editor, actually developed a recipe. And, the article was like, your quarantine cooking needs this condiment. And so it was kind of like a whole perfect storm of things happening that really just gave us so much exposure that I could not have imagined. And we sold out of like 3 months of inventory overnight.
Wow.
So then that led to the next issue, was how do I restock? Because at that time it was April, and in China they were starting to open up again, and the factories were starting to, start to operate. But here everything was locked down, and things were super slow on the ground in China. And because of the resource constraints that they had there, they weren't able to complete the entire sort of chain for me. So they weren't able to package, and I had to like beg them to basically even produce our raw material, like our sauces. And then they finally agreed to do that, but then I had to set up this whole new supply chain in the US overnight to address kind of the second half of everything. So they were just going to send me the bulk sauce, and I had to figure out new bottlers, new labelers, new, everything basically. And so that was a really wild time. I still have PTSD, even recalling that period. It was insane, because at the same time that we were struggling to figure out our supply chain, we had just more sales than we have ever had. And so we had to add extra, customer service personnel. We switched 3PLs in the middle of all of this. So a third-party logistics company, which ships our products. We had to start taking pre-orders, and that list grew to about 20,000. And so it was just chaos. And then after that, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong with that shipment. So it got delayed, it got held up by customs, delayed for further like 3 to 4 weeks. Then when we finally moved it to a co-packer in California, the sauce and the material was so kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Viscous, that the machinery that they had was not used to it, and it actually broke all the machines, and they had to jar the sauces by hand. So literally it was like a comedy of errors. And then, we had to also keep the customers updated throughout this entire process, right? And, people's patience is wearing thin, and everyone's just at home, and it just seems like, people are just at home constantly following up on where their sauce is. And so it was really challenging to manage all of that. But I think, our strategy was just to be as transparent as possible. We told our customers every step of the way, everything that went wrong. And, out of the 20,000 pre-orders that we had, I think only like 100 or so canceled. So, people were overwhelmingly supportive. And the other thing I will mention is, we were taking those pre-orders, but, we were also making sure to contribute. In April, we donated 20% of all of our pre-order sales to frontline healthcare workers, and to feeding frontline healthcare workers. And then also we continue to do that in May, supporting organizations doing essential work in the Black communities. And so I think, by the transparency of like what we were doing, and also just being honest about all of the issues, and people were very supportive, and some of them had told us that our updates were the most thrilling things that they had read during COVID. So
Oh, well, that's a great roller coaster, like the lowest lows to the highest highs during COVID.
Sure.
Well, I'm sure that we can probably all agree that 2020 is a weird year, to say the least. And I'm an eternal optimist, and so I believe the future is bright. And so I would ask each of you, what are you excited about for your businesses, not just post-COVID, but what's going on in the next year or two, and what can we look forward to in what's going on with your business? Jing, what's going on with Fly by Jing?
So yeah, just when we started to come out of the pre-order like chaos, we after shipping 20,000+ orders, we are now ramping up for the holidays. We're actually launching a rebrand, which is going to be a lot more expressive of kind of our brand's mission and values. And so I'm really excited about that. We are, because of COVID and everything, we weren't able to do anything too crazy in terms of product innovation, but we are coming out with some potentially a larger size chili crisp, which a lot of people have been asking for. So there's that in the pipeline, and some really exciting kind of merch that is, you know, around this rebrand. We are still about 95% direct to consumer on our website, but we have just started testing a few different channels like Amazon, and then going into natural grocery channels. So hopefully next year you'll see us in some stores near you. But for now, we're just kind of taking it one step at a time. One really exciting effect of this growth has been that we've been able to add to the team. So prior to this point, I was really just one person working on this since the beginning, and now we have 4 whole people. So really excited about that.
Cool. Lidia, what's next for Next?
That's really interesting. Yes. So right now we focus on 4 pillars. The entire company focuses on 4 pillars. And if you go to any of my employees, they will tell you there are 4 things we focus on. One is improve culture. Second, improve infrastructure and improve unit economics. And the last is scale marketplace. So we're laser focused on these 4 areas. And also all the companies, because we focus everything on OKRs. So the whole company's KR surrounding those 4 objectives. So next ambition is really to build the largest virtual fleet. We wanted to build a trucker-centric marketplace, and we aggregate small trucking companies, which actually represent 97% of the market under our platform. We wanted to build the biggest and the best drayage brand, because there's really no significant or big players in port drayage, and the port drayage is also the most difficult and the most complex sector in trucking. And because you really need to deal with a big number of players in the ecosystem just to move one container. You need to work with terminals, you need to get connected with steamship lines, you need to have a yard and deal with all the chassis providers, and also organize routes for the drivers to increase the efficiency. So it's not just to simply move goods from A to B. So we will be continue building probably the one of a kind product that has never existed in the market. So drayage marketplace has never existed in American history, and whatever we're building today is really unique and very complex, and it's also an enormous product because we call our product Atlas. On top of Atlas, we have a lot of microservices. Like marketplace alone, it's just a matching algorithm, right? And we also have route planning, congestion level monitoring, and driver's traffic planning, shipper management, carrier management, and a lot of AI, machine learning driven products that we're building. We wanted to establish a brand. Right now we are in 4 ports in the US, primarily in LA, Long Beach, and we're in Oakland, New York, and Charleston. So the goal is really to roll out to all the ports in the United States before we go internationally. And, I think we have very distinguished the culture and distinguished the brand. We are the first trucker-centric marketplace, and we will continue to zoom in, be in the trucker-centric brand. And a lot of products and a lot of technology that we're building is really to empower the truck drivers to work the way they want, at the time they want. And so we can maximize their profit and increase their efficiency. And we're the tech company that invests over 40% of the budget in tech. So a lot of money and investment goes to the tech side of the business. We're really beefing up our data science and BI and everything surrounding the product. So we're very proud of being the first company in history that addressing drayage problems of the country. And obviously, we believe we're the largest right now, and we'll continue to really scale and grow to bring the next brand to the world.
Cool, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I see the Next offices every time I drive down to Health-Ade down in the South Bay. So to see it grow and grow is really exciting to me. Amy, what's next for Tower 28?
Yeah, so we're still we're still early in the journey, but so much has happened. I think the exciting thing for me personally is, you know, I think in the beginning, you just don't know if you're going to have a real business, right? So like I said, I've worked in the beauty industry for a long time, but I've never done it from the very, very beginning, right? Like I had never started something on my own. So I'm a first time entrepreneur. And I think just the idea that now we have a budget that we can, you know, after having been in business now for 1 year and 4 months, we're almost a year at Sephora, we have some sales figures that we can start planning, and we can start really building a pipeline, and we can start creating a budget. Because I think before that, you really don't know if you're going to even have a business to plan for, right? In the very beginning, you're just trying to figure out your distribution, see if you have product market fit. And so it's been really exciting that we at least hit critical mass enough that we can start figuring that out. Right? Because I think before that, in the very beginning, I remember that I have 3 girls that work for me and full time. And I remember they would say, like, how are we doing? Are we hitting your budget? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to plan for in the beginning, right? You're just so grateful that people who you don't know are buying your products. So yeah, so it's really exciting right now. I think we have a great relationship with Sephora and Credo and Revolve. And so that will continue. We're really trying to make our own website a bigger thing. We're hiring a few people, which is hard to do during COVID, but really it's just more about doing more of the same. Our business is not nearly as complex as Lidia's. So it's really just trying to make some great makeup and skincare products that people love. One thing I'm super proud of is that most of the companies I've worked with have had an assortment of products where one product was basically like 20% of their overall revenue. So you might have 200 SKUs and you have one SKU that does 20% of the business. We have an extremely productive business where like literally every SKU does hold its weight. And so I'm conscious of that, and I want to make sure that I don't just introduce newness for no reason. And all of our products are really good. And I think that, you know, one of my big fears going into starting my own business was that nowadays, like if you're not, there's a new beauty brand every day. You know, J-Lo just launched one, Selena Gomez just launched one, and clearly I am no Selena Gomez or J-Lo, right? So I don't have any influence built in. And so I think it's just been encouraging that having great products can, and being kind of a, you know, I'm no one in the influencer hemisphere, that can still become a business. So yeah, I'm just happy that we're kind of hitting our stride.
Awesome. Well, time is almost up, guys. And there are some questions out there in the Whova world. I don't think we'll have time to get to all of them, but one seemed really appropriate to bring up to the whole group. In starting a business, are there any resources that you guys have utilized as Asian American women and connecting with each other? How did you find any solopreneurs to really just bounce ideas off of, stay connected? Has anything resonated with you guys in that way?
I can start. So when I just start Next, and of course Next is not my first business. I had another startup before, and it's a flash sale website. I didn't know that I could do fundraising. So the moment, and of course I got squeezed out because the competitors raised a lot of money. But so when I started Next, the first thing I thought about is I need to do fundraising. But you know, you're not gonna be able to talk to the investors because you're not in the arena, right? Nobody knows you. So what I did is I actually went out to a lot of events. Like I live in Orange County and sometimes live with my parents in Walnut. So I had to drive like an hour and a half to Santa Monica to attend to those events, to meet investors and also meet peers. So, you know, other entrepreneurs. It's really, really good that you meet other entrepreneurs and network and build relationship, because, you know, I have quite a few friends who are very successful entrepreneurs in Southern California. And they've been very accomplished, and they became my mentor right now. So you can learn from them, you can grow with them. So yeah, I think I encourage everyone to be thick-skinned, don't be shy, go to events, present yourself. And this is also a great opportunity for you to, polish your pitch, especially to the investors. So yeah, that's my 2 cents here.
That's a great one. Jing or Amy, any thoughts on that before I close it up?
Oh,
Oh.
go ahead.
I was going to say, so my story, I think, is relevant because Vanessa's here, and I actually found Vanessa initially when I started my journey, and was actually at Expo West. So this was probably 2 years ago now, and I hadn't even moved to the US at that point. I didn't know even a single person that lived in the US. So I'm Canadian. I'd lived in China for the last like 10 years. And so it's really just about, being everywhere you can where, where your peers might be. And, so I went to Expo West and, didn't have any money, but there was this business school that they had for like 1 day before the show started. And so found out about it on the website, saw, I think, that you were speaking, and listened to your keynote speech and just like reached out to you afterwards. And, Vanessa has since become one of my biggest mentors in this space. And so just, really, I think a lot of the work is in constantly just being prepared to like do what you've got to do so that when things line up, they do. Same thing happened to land us the New York Times feature. It was just, I was at this event, gave a friend of mine a jar of sauce. He happened to, the next person he saw was Sam Sifton. And so, that's kind of how that happened. And then that wasn't overnight either. I kept, Sam Sifton then became a customer. I saw him pop up on my order list, emailed him just to say thank you, started a relationship with him, and which led to, 6 months later during COVID, he was like, hey, I want to interview you for an article about COVID and about Chinese food. So yeah, I think it's like all of these things is just, being prepared means like laying down the groundwork, but doing as much networking as possible, just reaching out to people. I think with Vanessa, like I DM'd you on Instagram.
You were courageous enough to take the first step. I mean, not with me, I don't think I'm scary, but just with any of these instances to say hello and introduce yourself. And I think that's just a great piece in being present and building something.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to say basically the same. I think somebody gave me the advice early on that it's better to ask for advice than it is to ask for money. And I think that that's really true too. I mean, people really want to help each other. I think they find it flattering too. I did raise friends and family money. I did it twice, and I was lucky enough that it actually happened pretty quickly, because what I found was when I went out and I asked people for advice, which I truly was looking for, I wasn't actually, I didn't know, that people did start to offer. So I think there's something to be said there too. And I think in terms of networking, it is so important. The other thing, I used to teach in the beauty major, I used to teach marketing at FIDM. And I would always tell my students there, and I still say the same thing, it is a really small world, at least the beauty industry, and I'm sure yours as well. It's a really small world. So just to make sure to be kind and nice to people, because at the end of the day, it's like, these are all people businesses. So I think your reputation is everything.
Totally. Well, Jing, Lidia, Amy, thank you guys so much for your time and supporting the ABA. And if anyone is interested in becoming a member, just divert those to the office and hopefully you will become one. I'm going to pass it off to Bianca and she'll take it from here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I think, Bianca, why don't you make sure you're on mute? That's the first step. That's right. Here we go. Go ahead. One more time.
I thought I clicked it. I just wanted to thank you, Vanessa. You are an incredible moderator, and we are so honored to have had you in today's session. Thank you also to our elite group of speakers, Amy, Jing, and Lydia, for being a part of our annual signature event. We hope that you guys also enjoy the care package we sent to you. Hi, everyone. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Bianca, the Program Manager for the Asian Business Association. I'd like to thank you all for attending, but don't leave just yet because we have to announce our winners for a leaderboard and photo contests. I hope you all enjoyed our first ever virtual conference, and when we hope to see you guys in our upcoming events. So on September 21st, we have our sold out 22nd annual golf tournament taking place in Strawberry Farms Golf Club. And on October 15th, to celebrate the Filipino American Heritage Month, we have our Filipino American Entrepreneurs webinar, again on October 15th at 1:30 p.m. So make sure you sign up on abala.org. All right, now I'm pulling up the report to see our winners. The winner for our photo contest being sent a Laneige skincare trial kit is Elizabeth Yang. Congratulations. Virtual claps around. And the winner for our leaderboard contest, winning a $250 Amazon gift card, is Stella Yu. Congratulations. Awesome job. Thank you all for being very active in the community hall and the mobile app. Our admin V will be in contact with you both to send you your prize. And to close out the event, let me turn it over to our executive director, Dennis Wong.
Thank you, Bianca. Well, audience, let me tell you, in the 6 years we've done this, you guys been the most behaved ever. You guys learned to silence your phone. You kept the conversation to a minimum. So we thank you for that. I really want to take a minute to thank our featured speaker, Amy Liu, Tower 28, Jing Gao, Fly by Jing, Lidia Yang, Next Trucking. Of course, special thanks to Vanessa Du, Health-Ade Kombucha, who moderated, who organized it, who was our featured speaker in the past. She's on our board. She really chaired the symposium alongside with Karen and Queen. So thank you very much, Vanessa. Of course, things won't happen without our sponsors. Want to take a minute to thank Southern California Edison, T-Mobile, US Bank, Walt Disney, CIT, Metropolitan Water District, Southern California Gas Company, and Golden State Water. But in addition to them, some of our businesses is also stepping up, like ID Logic, KCal Insurance, Health-Ade Kombucha, Kids Dream, 10 Advertising, TYWL CPA, KGP, Eco, Copy Free, and Bonavi. We also want to take a minute to acknowledge some of our partners with this, National ACE out of DC. I know the Asian Chamber out of Houston and Austin is in the house, so thank you very much for that as well as SEMSDC, as well as the ABA in Orange County and San Diego. Now, one thing we also, and I think it was mentioned earlier about the contribution to our swag bag, we want to take a minute and thank all the contributors to put that together. And I know some of you didn't get it and some of you did. So if you did, consider yourself lucky to have them. One last message I have is, please, when you have a chance to support the corporations, if you have a chance to foster the economy, support the corporations and small businesses that gives back to the community. You can love them back by consuming their goods and services. So for example, you're at the store, you're buying some Health-Ade drinks, you're buying one or two. No, buy one or two cases. That's what we need you to do. So we need to bring our economy back by buying more stuff. So any other group, I may not say that. For this group, we need you to buy stuff with the caveat of buying local and buying the ones that give back to the community. So another way you can give back to the community, of course, we talked about this a few times about, is joining ABA. You can go to the website, abala.org/join. And if you're not in a position to join and you want to donate, you can do that as well. Just go to our website, abala.org/donate. So before we end this live stream, I want to take a minute to thank Bianca C. and V. Nago. You know, they've been working tirelessly for the last 2-3 months to put this together. And I think sometimes we can do this on a live event, but to relearn how to do this online, it's a little challenging. So we really acknowledge you both for putting all this together. We encourage you to continue your network, meet new people, talk business, do business, and join the business organization that brought you here today. the Asian Business Association, where business and opportunity meet.